Right, great. Thank you so much, Kel, for the opportunity here. It's great to talk from UK. I'm in UK this week, so the weather is great, and I'm hoping that Australia, the weather is the same. And thank you so much once again for the opportunity here. So I'm actually going to be very informal today, just to kind of share some of the information what I know as being the co-CEO of MassMailer for the past 3 years. I've been in the industry for 20 years now in enterprise applications. Been with Salesforce ecosystem for more than a decade now. Dealt with several customers, several projects, several products, and ultimately I figured out email is a bigger problem, and I got into this 3 years ago and founded MassMailer, and here we are with thousands of users using MassMailer. So today we are just going to focus on the email deliverability, which sounds simple, but at the same time it is complex as well if you really get into it. So I would like to get on to the presentation with your permission so that I can stop the video because it may take my bandwidth.
Yep, go for it, mate.
All right, okay. So you can see the presentation, yeah?
Yep, we can.
All right, so to start with, when we talk about sending out emails, right, there are several types of emails I've seen customers doing it, not just the marketing. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is the marketing emails, but that's not the only thing that I've noticed in the industry. It could be maybe the university sending out emails to students for communication purposes, or financial services advisors, they're sending out emails with some reports, or maybe the staffing companies trying to market the candidates and sending out emails. So various purposes that I've seen, and everybody wants to make sure that their email gets delivered. That's the first and foremost thing, right? And the people who are receiving that email, it's in a proper format, and they're able to respond back, and so on and so forth. So it's, again, email strategy is, we spend a lot of time saying, okay, let's do this, and this is our list, and let's work out email strategy in our company, and then spend 6 months with the templates, whatnot. But the fundamentals, if you really do not follow them, you may end up not getting the same results what you expected, right? Let's just focus on only those fundamentals, what they are, yeah? So today I would like to discuss 3 main things. One is the deliverability, and the reputation, and the compliance. And not really getting into much details at a very high level. The deliverability meaning, like, you send out an email, is it really reaching the inbox or not? Nowadays, we get so many spammy emails, and the email servers are so intelligent, they can easily catch who is the right sender and who is not the right sender. I mean, especially with the Gmail invention, they are so strict. And I've seen this happening the past few years, that it is really tough to crack Gmail because they got so much complex algorithms going on that they can easily find out whether it is what kind of an email it is, and then they put you in a different, not just the inbox, they actually may put you into promotion or different folders. So it gets very difficult for the users to make sure that the email is getting delivered to inbox, right? And we'll see what really makes it happen, at least the fundamental at a very high level. And the second one is the reputation. And again, if you think about reputation, when you're in the industry and are using certain domain to send emails, first and foremost thing is your domain blacklisted or not blacklisted? Like, again, talking about blacklisting, right? If you assume that you're trying to send out an email, but somebody is actually watching, the recipient, the servers, they're actually watching who is sending it. Is it an authenticate server that is coming from? And if you say, I'm sending it from abc.com, is it really coming from abc.com, or somebody actually spoofing it, right? So there are a lot of things that are involved when it comes to reputation. You need to make sure that your domain is properly authenticated, it's not blacklisted. And same thing with the IP address. With the marketing automation solution nowadays, some of them do provide the dedicated IP address and some do not. And some may charge you like umpteen number of dollars or, for getting a dedicated IP address. Whatever it may be, if you talk about the process and also what is necessary for you to really make sure your reputation is intact, you would want to go with a dedicated IP address. And I'll get into the details what it means. Yeah. So basically, we need to make sure that your domain is authenticated and it's not blacklisted. At the same time, the IP that you're using is also not blacklisted, right? And the third and very important thing, the compliance. I'm sure you must have heard about the GDPR European Act that came in picture like a few months ago, and we have talked about. We talked at length about various countries having their own internal compliance rules when it comes to email. Not that I'm really going to get into every country, but at a very high level, you need to follow the email compliance laws such as CAN-SPAM and GDPR. I'm sure they got to do one in Australia and there's one in Canada and other countries as well. And now if you just focus on the deliverability, the very first three things that come into my mind, I know I listed four, I kind of broken down the last one into 2 points. First and foremost thing is the content. The content that you're sending out, is it really spammy or is it really good? You don't know what you're sending out. You draft a letter, you draft an email, and you think that it is working because you know it's got catchy words and it's got some nice little font and format, and you think it's going to work. But you never know what the recipient servers are going to really look at your email and see, hey, this is coming from so-and-so domain and so-and-so industry, so-and-so country, and they're using certain words, and they may flag you as a spammy email, right? You don't know. So it is very important for you to analyze the content, and I'll show you how to do that when we get into a quick demo, right? That's the first thing. And the second thing, again, I could actually put this as a top list, in the top of the list. The actual emails, the actual email list that you're using, whether you're sending out to students, you're sending out to maybe a donation purposes, you're sending out to donors, or maybe you're trying to send it to like a sales email to your prospects. You need to make sure the email list is clean. When I say that the cleanliness of the emails, it's not just the format. Format is one thing, of course, and also you need to make sure it's a valid email. It's a valid inbox. Sometimes, even though it is a valid inbox, the person may have left, but they still haven't really purged the email address, and it is still hitting the inbox. But the email server is actually watching you that, hey, you're sending it to a person who is not in the company anymore, which means you do not know who you're sending it to. And they may flag you as a spammer, right? So there are many things that are involved even when it comes to talking about the email verification. And we'll touch base on that in a moment, yeah? How to do that in MassMailer. And the third and fourth is, again, it's very important for you to make sure that the domain is authenticated. And also, if you are having any links in the email, you need to make sure that they're branded. Meaning, let's say you're sending out like a white paper and you have a link in your email address, in the email. You need to make sure it's actually branded against your own domain. That's very important. That way, the recipient server knows that, okay, it is being hosted on the same server and it's not, the domain is not blacklisted and everything has been branded properly, right? And there's one more thing called BIMI. I've not included that. It's a new concept called BIMI. It's just coming, maybe less than a year old technology. And we also support that. It's called BIMI record that you need to set up in your DNS. And that will also improve that you're a branded form that you're sending out emails. And the fourth one is a dedicated IP address. So just to touch base on the difference between a shared IP address and a dedicated IP address, so it's very clear. Shared IP address meaning, let's say you go with some sort of an email tool, right? Whether it's Mercato, Perth, MassMailer, MailChimp, whatnot. First and foremost thing is, am I really getting on a shared IP address, meaning the other clients who are actually going to use this IP address, are sharing, meaning they are sending out some emails, you don't know what they're sending, how their reputation is, their domain reputation is. Ultimately, it's going to affect the IP reputation as well. And you wouldn't know if you're actually using a shared IP address. And at MassMailer, we never recommend to go with a shared IP address, especially when you're a serious emailer and your emails are valuable. You would always want to go with a dedicated IP address and make sure that it is properly authenticated. And talking about the reputation, at a very high level, again, you don't want to get blacklisted, period, right? And whatever you do with your emails, make sure that you never get into a blacklist. But you can ask me, hey, what do I get blacklisted? What do I do? There are ways to really go talk to that organization. Talking meaning it's pretty much automated. You can send out an email, prove that you're not a spammer, and they'll give you some time period, maybe a few weeks or a month, and you got to prove that you're not sending any spammy emails, right? And eventually they may take out you from the blacklist. So there are, over 100 organizations, they may blacklist you, and some are very serious and some are not. And some may keep you just for a few weeks or a few months and take out automatically. And some will just keep you in the blacklist forever if you're not really following the best practices. And second point is honoring the opt-out, right? We always think, hey, I don't want to keep a unsubscribe link because I don't want somebody to unsubscribe my emails. But that's not a good practice at all. If somebody do not want to hear from you, why do you even want to speak to them, right? Period. So you just want to honor the opt-out. Make sure that you got the unsubscribe.
Can we interrupt with a question? You're okay with that?
Sure. Yeah, please go ahead.
Just a question on the blacklist, Steve. So on an ongoing basis, there's a hell of a lot of blacklists out there to be monitoring manually for your domain or your servers. Is there an automated way to have that verified daily and get a report back to make sure that you're not on any of those lists and to even automate the responses?
Yeah, you can do that. So like if you're using a tool to find out who actually blacklisted your domain or IP address, it'll take you to a website where you can actually submit a request why your email is, not a spam email or you're not a spammer. You can provide some sort of a description or a proof, and they would validate and make sure that it is coming from somebody who is actually reputed, right? And they'll take you out from the blacklist, but they'll give a time period, meaning they may give you 3 weeks or 4 weeks time and say, hey, we're going to watch your emails and make sure that you're not spamming and you're good to go. So you just follow it's a basic. So let me again repeat, right? It's a process. It's a process. You have to understand that when you're doing something, somebody is watching you. As simple as that. So whatever the policies that are defined in the industry when it comes to email deliverability, you just have to adhere to that and follow it strictly. And there are tools available for you to monitor the reputation. And there are tools available for you to really authenticate your domain and IP and other means of content of the list, email verification. As long as you really follow this strictly, keep that as a process as part of the email strategy, right? Then I think you're good to go. It happened actually recently with us. Like we just started emailing from a new domain, and apparently there was a slight glitch in the authentication was not done maybe for the initial, say, 500 or 1,000 emails or something on those lines, right? And we realized the moment we ran the campaign, and immediately it got blacklisted because it's a brand new domain that we started emailing, right? They're so intelligent, the recipient servers, they can catch you. And I looked at it and I felt that, okay, I'm sending out awesome, real good emails. So there's no way I should be worried about. And I requested them, went to the portal and gave them an explanation. And they looked at my, the domain, who is the owner of the domain, and it's a proper company that is sending out emails. And they removed the blacklist immediately. And they said, hey, we're going to give you 3 weeks time. And after that, we made sure that we're not going to make the same mistake again, and we're good to go. So you just have to kind of practice this and eventually get it. Yeah. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's sort of hard to answer. I guess my question was around the automation of that. That sounds very manual. I understand the process. I used to be a network admin, but often we'd find out that servers were blacklisted. They'd been blacklisted for a while. We'd gone past the warning period, and suddenly we lost communication, or our mails were being tagged in a certain way or treated in a certain way, and then we had to react. I'm talking about being proactive. You mentioned some tools there which would do the monitoring for you and show the health of the domain or the mail servers in terms of their reputation. That'd be good. Maybe if you could touch on that at the end, that might be a good thing to finish with.
Sure. Yeah. I think once I show the tool, you kind of understand what tool can provide to you. It's not just the reactive mode. You can be proactive. Before sending out email itself, you can actually look at the deliverability score and also look at every aspect of the email so that you know that, okay, my email is in a good condition, it's good to go. I think once I kind of get into the demo, you will understand at least the reputation part of it quite easily.
Okay, thanks.
All right. And finally, talking about the compliance, again, we can think that compliance is a beast and it's really hard to crack, but there are a few fundamental aspects in every act for any country that you need to follow. First and foremost thing is opt-in list. So the list that you got, is that opted in to your email? Again, there's a gray area. Sometimes you may not be able to get everybody to opt into your email list because you're trying to prospect. And what do I do in that scenario, right? There are ways to really make sure that your email is not appearing as a marketing email. It is looking as if it's a personal email because you can send email to anyone. Like even if you do not know, you can still send an email, right? They have not opted in it. If you think it from that angle, it's okay to send out emails who are not opted in, provided you're not sending out marketing emails or promotional emails. If it's a strictly promotional or marketing emails kind of a thing, I would rather say that, hey, send it to the opt-in list, right? Otherwise, there are ways to really send out emails to non-opt-in list as well, provided you follow strict guidelines on the email content and whatnot, and also the list cleanup. And the opt-out unsubscribe link is very important. You want to make sure that's actually highlighted at the bottom of the email or anywhere in the body, right? The tools are available to kind of highlight that area that people can really look at it and then click on it. I mean, most of the emails that you may get, the unsubscribe link is kind of hidden somewhere. You really have to look for it. And you finally find, oh, okay, I had to click on this and then unsubscribe, right? For me, that seems like it is, they're trying to kind of avoid you to unsubscribe, but that's not a good practice. I think it's okay to have it highlighted and, it's appearing right there. And if they don't want to hear from you, let them just unsubscribe because it's better so that you are not hurting your reputation, right? And the emails that you're sending out, it's important that while you're looking at the content, it's the subject that matters and the content that matters, the layout that matters. At the same time, make sure that you got a signature line, right? Meaning your name, email address, contact information, which company you're coming from, and also the company address, whatnot, right? All of that information is mentioned there. And you can also have a disclaimer. You can admit that it is a promotional email. If at all you're sending out a promotion, that way at least the actual recipient servers that are scanning your email think that, okay, this guy is admitting, and let's put it in promotion list, right? At least they're not flagging you as a spammy email, right? So it's important for you to really have the signature line. And again, the email from, if you're using like a reputed the tool to send out emails, they would definitely have some way to authenticate your domain. So the moment your domain is authenticated using the DNS record, it is the email that you're sending out will appear as if it's coming from your own domain. It could be abc.com, right? Those are the 4 highlights of a compliance rule. And this is true for most of the countries, even though GDPR has got a little bit more involved. nowadays, Salesforce or any other enterprise applications have started following the GDPR rules already. That means that when you're storing some information about somebody that you're going to communicate with, you just have to inform them, and there ought to be a provision to delete their information, identity information from your system if at all they request you. There's kind of an additional rule that has been set forth in Europe recently. That's part of GDPR. And now, talking about MassMailer, MassMailer is just a 100% native Salesforce app that will let you send emails to recipients. The emails could be mass emails. It could be just a one-off or a single email. It could be just an email alert that you're sending out to standard custom object. There are a lot more features, but at a high level, this is what MassMailer is all about. And we also have provisioned certain tools so that you can actually make sure that your email is getting delivered, you're authenticated. All of that we do in the MassMailer behind the scenes, the technology-wise, right? Now, just to highlight the demo that we're going to have today, I would touch on a few points that we already discussed, and I'll kind of walk you through sort of certain scenes and how the domain is authenticated, or IP is authenticated, how you can actually verify the email list, and how you can actually suppress those emails that are not valid, and how to check the deliverability score that you have, and also certain compliance rules that we talked about. All of that we can cover in the demo. So before I get into the demo, any questions that I can clarify?
Sure.
Yes, Steve, just a quick one. One of the challenges we're facing, it's not strictly with the GDPR, but I guess the principle is the same. From a customer perspective, getting visibility on a particular site where there might be 12 mailing lists, and I want to be on 3 of them, but I don't want to be on the other ones. Getting the ability to subscribe and unsubscribe at a global level or at a micro level, and being able to change and edit that over time. So I think it's part of that standard. If your tool does anything to help with that, that would be interesting.
Oh, yeah. So we call them as subscription groups or email preferences. You can actually set up the email preferences in MassMailer setup. Let's say it is newsletter or student communication or donation emails that you're sending. You can kind of segregate those groups and then let the users actually unsubscribe only from those groups that they don't want to hear from you, right? That's quite possible to do it. That's called as group subscription and unsubscription. So I'll show it to you as well.
Great, thanks.
All right. Okay, so let's get into the demo here. The screens are weighted because it's going to just navigate to them. I think since the topic is email deliverability, right? I would rather want to spend quick, like maybe a few minutes there to show how you can actually test the email deliverability before sending out email. So this is not technical, it's easy to understand. Okay, so let's say you have drafted your email template, yeah? And it's sitting in Salesforce, native email template that you always use in Salesforce. And you want to send out emails to certain recipients, and it is certain industry, it belongs to, it's got some language, and you're sending out to maybe 10,000 lists, and you're sending out to a specific region. It could be a country or a region, right? So you know all of this behind the scenes, and okay, you are prepared. And before blasting out email, it may take 10 minutes for you to come in and do this test and analyze what you're sending and what could be the result. It'll really help you to make sure that you're not failing, right? So the sender could be whoever the sender is. It could be your company name, it could be a person's name, and the email address. What is the email address that you're going to send with? And the industry. So there are some industries that are listed here which are very common, And if you are not listed in this, you can just say other. So if you're sending out some sort of a deal, like a daily deals kind of a thing, promotional, you can check this daily deal. Or if it's educational, like if you belong to education industry, then you can select this, or energy and entertainment, and there are options available, right? I'm just gonna pick IT services for, and the recipient list size, this doesn't need to be accurate. This can be the approximate list size, let's say a 10,000 people. And here you can actually select who you're sending it to. Let's say you're sending out to the Australia region, or you can also pick worldwide if you're sending out to the various other countries or North America. Whatever the target list is, you can send to the specific country also. But just Australia. And then here you're selecting the template is coming from one of the folders. Let's say MassMailer Demo, and then the language. Let's say the language is English. You select what language is, and then you're selecting what is my template. The template is again stored in, and you're going to populate the subject in the email. The email is all good. You populated everything. All you need to do is click on this button called Test Email Deliverability, and that's going to send out a request to the servers behind the scenes, and the servers are actually going to analyze the information that you just populated. It's going to take approximately 6 to 10 minutes. Between 6 to 10 minutes, we will display the results on the screen. We also send an email to you with the link that you can actually click. If you do not want to stay on this, that's fine. You can take a break, come back after, say, 6 to 10 minutes, and then look at the results. Let's say you already saw the results first with something like this, right? And carefully observe this, right? Here, there are some tabs on the top that actually shows aspects of the email, that is the content, the infrastructure, and the compliance, and the previews. We'll actually kind of get into each one of these. And the snapshot shows you region, and when it is going to compare with the other type of emails going to that says, hey, this is where you are. And it says the deliverability is poor and optimized, right? And it's going to give you the actual issues. It highlights, okay, 57.5, and rest of it is going to go to the spam filter. Glad that I actually did it in a demo instance and showing it to you because you can actually highlight the problems, maybe. And then, so if you, and also it's going to pick the financial. So this is actually a request that I made earlier, and I picked financial services industry showing that. And if you look at the content, just like the main page, and it's highlighting some vocabulary, copywriting, and seems like there's some infrastructure issues as well, which is a demarc. Let's look into this vocabulary, copywriting. You click on that, start to highlight the subject. You have some that are part of your subject and the email body. It's highlighting email, which is not a recommended word, right? And may not show the recommended and discouraged words, and sometimes it would. I may have an example. So it says medium is not recommended, and it is also showing discouraged words like, if you have respectable, dummy, everyday, toy, a few of those, it's saying, hey, these are some, not encouraged words. You may want to change these words, and it's kind of other words. Sometimes, this is a tool that, right? It's kind of giving you what words are spammy, considered as spammy words, and sometimes you may not be able to change the content just because that's how you have to write. So you're gonna find out sometimes that hey, the actual content is not good, and I have to really rewrite, or maybe some words are not good and I have to rewrite. So this is kind of highlighting all of that And also, with all their problems with the HTML, it's going to highlight those issues as well, right? And the phrases too. If at all you have a certain phrase that's actually improperly formatted, and if it thinks it's not really good, it's going to highlight that too. Coding layout issue using certain HTML, not recommended. It's hard to crack. As particular, we use a third-party plugin called BeFree for email templates, and they're quite good. But again, you may see that the tool is actually highlighting some layout issues. It is okay to ignore because you really cannot get to 100% unless and until you really code everything with HTML. That's going to be very tough. So, unless there are issues, I think you can actually ignore certain issues. And I know links that are problematic, but just to let you know, there was a customer that we were working with recently, and they've been using the same link for the logo for years. And they never knew that the link, the domain that they hosted that image, the logo image, is blacklisted. That was served by the email marketing agency. They said, hey, use this link and you know where it's hosted, you're good to go. But they never knew that their domain is blacklisted because they're using a third-party domain. And they came to know the moment we showed the result, hey, look at the link and it's failing, that's your logo. And they quickly resolved it, and they kind of changed it, or they hosted it in-house and made sure that that goes away. So it's important to make sure that you look at the link quality, whatever links that you got. Right? And then it was actually highlighting some issues. Even though I really did not get into the specific details, I'm really talking too technical here. Something called Under Policy Framework, SPF, DKIM is a domain key identification. And the DMARC, again, it kind of like if SPF and DMARC is failing, and it's going to look at the DMARC, right? So we help you with all of this. And to show the just says that DKIM or SPF show an aligned path, but there is some problem not really aligned, right? This can be fixed with by looking at the kind of the description that is mentioned here. You can actually go resolve the issues with the DMARC, and you should be good to go after that. Right? We have selected from our server, and then it's solved properly. The domain is authenticated properly, and the domain keys are also good. Even they're using send the platform that we use behind the scenes, and it says the domain keys are good, so you're good to go with the email authentication. Otherwise, it's going to highlight what the problem is, right? Yeah. And compliance, again, this compliance is a little different. It actually gets into a little bit more details on the cookies that you may have. Say you have certain cookies that you have on the website, and you're linking to that. It's going to highlight that, hey, you have cookies, and make sure that those cookies are following the policies, right? I mean, it's okay to use cookies, no problem at all. But as long as you obey the rules and say, hey, I'm actually using the cookies, and this is the reason why I use it, and whatnot, right? And sometimes it may highlight the links that you have cookies in it. It's going to highlight it. You got to make sure those are all fine. Sometimes you may have a link for the YouTube or Twitter, and it may just highlight that, hey, YouTube has got a cookie there. Those things you can ignore because those are safe to send, right? And the previous, even though we really didn't present, I would actually tell you that we are actually sending out email. These are email customers, right? And you don't know what kind of a device that they're using. They may use Apple client or Gmail or iPhone, Outlook or Yahoo, whatever, right? And you need to make sure that the layout is actually good. You can actually click open client behind, so This is and you can pick and choose who various devices that you think you want to look at. For an example, if you just click on this request, it's going to take some time because it's rendering real time, and it'll come up after some time. You can take a look at it and make sure it's all good, right? So then, kind of ask you if you have any questions.
Just have questions on the tester. Excuse me, Siva. So just a question for you on the client compatibility. So with the emulators, one of the issues I've seen which causes angst is the amount of time it takes for new emulators to be promoted to the suite for various testing suites. So what's the typical lag time if the new iPhone, whatever, say the new Samsung 11 comes out, everyone rushes to the stores and buys Samsung 11. What's the delay between the release date and when we would expect to see it in your emulator?
Right. So if you're actually building out email template using the template builder that we have, then those are optimized for any device. So the tool that we use is called BeFree. It's a plugin that we integrated with within Salesforce, within MassMailer, and it's an email template builder. It's a drag and drop kind of an editor. I'm happy to kind of quickly show you how it looks. Not that but we use the tool. The tool itself is being optimized in a way. The template by drag and drop, assume that it is properly, like when it is rendering on any device, it is responsive layout, and it has been optimized for certain devices that typically are available in the industry, right? So it's called MassMailer Template Builder. Again, it's native to Salesforce. It's very easy to kind of create rows and the content items. Rows meaning like if you have a layout wherein which you may have, the content, and each row will have a content block, right? An example, this is a header, and you may have an image header. And here also, maybe you have another image in this box, and you may have a text here. So like that, you can to your email. Once this has been defined, I mean, we store it in Salesforce. It's a native email template, and we have a preview show how it is actually going to look on each device. But it just shows you, in the mobile how it's going to look like. This is a simple way to kind of preview. It's going to be using the email deliverability tool that I showed it to you. Like once you drafted the email template has been built, you can send a test email through the tool that we have and make sure that it's rendering properly on all other devices.
Okay, thanks, Siva. That wasn't I guess that's not the question I was asking. So the answer would be, we have the emulator within 24 hours, within a week, within a month. That's what I was hoping to find out, because for me, that's one of the ways that I would assess a tool like this. I understand how the emulator works and how you're using it. It looks really good. And the template builder to check compatibility, but if the new device comes out and I'm waiting 6 months, which some tools have, and it's a lag before I know if my mail outs are going to look right on the new phone, then that's an impediment. So what is it typically for your product? What would that time frame be?
Can you just have a look at the chat? Does that accurately reflect the question?
I got it. Thank you so much. So when a new device is released, how long would it typically take to be added to the preview? So this is a question for the BeFree team. I'm actually going to put through this question to them. From my experience, again, I mean, Apple or Android may come up with some devices quickly, but the layout actually would work because the tool itself is saying, hey, we have rendered this in so version of iPhone X, for example, right? iPhone X has been tested, right? And then they would come up with saying, hey, in this release, we have tested this, and it's all looking good. That kind of an information comes to us, even though we have never kind of intimated to the customers because everything is being displayed for them when they log into the tool. It's a good question. I'm actually going to come back to you on this. How long would it take for them to really test a new device? My assumption is that because the development that is being done behind the scenes at the BP company, they do it like a rapid development, like every 15 weeks. Every 15 days they have a release. So I keep seeing that they're always on top of things, and anything that needs to be done quickly, they take care of it, and it's every 2 weeks you get the latest release, which means even MassMailer is going to give you that every 2 weeks update when it comes to the template builder. But I'll get back to you on this, the new device timing, how long would it take for it to be added to the preview. I'll come back to you on this. I'll make note of it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. All right. So I know we have another 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes to go. I'm going to touch base on email verification. I think that's a very important aspect. So again, as I was saying last time, that it's not just about, it's more than that, right? For example, sometimes there are spam traps. You do not know where you got it from. And these spam traps they're seeded by some of these the organizations. It could be from the ISP, the receiving end, right? They seed them and they're listed somewhere. And when you're scraping the data from the web or your purchasing list, you're highly likely that you're getting some spam traps also that are seeded into your list. You don't know. So it's very hard to crack, but the tool that we use behind the scenes, we use Zero Bounce as a partner company to validate emails. They're good at finding out the spam traps, at least, I would say 90%. So you can actually figure out if at all there are any spam traps. And that's a very, the very first and foremost thing that you want to crack is make sure that they're not spam traps in your list. And again, other things are like whether the email address is valid email address or not, whether it is a valid domain or not. Maybe it is a valid email address and it's a valid domain, but it is kind of swallowing everything, meaning it could be like a generic email box that you're sending out emails to. Or maybe the email server has created some email address that's more like a, catch-all kind of a thing, right? And it's very, if it's unsafe to really send out emails to catch-all, we strongly do not encourage, because the moment it is going to catch-all situation, the recipient server is highly monitoring your emails and they may flag you as a scammer, right? So again, how do we really validate the email address? I'll show it to you at a contact level. You can also do it in bulk. You don't have to do it like at a single record level. Let's say you got contact and it's got certain email address. I know that this is invalid, yeah? And I'm actually gonna uncheck this invalid contact and just save it. And I've actually tested this before this demo. It's already showing you the status there. I'm gonna do it again so that you actually come to know. Let's say you go in MassMailer email verify. That's again what's behind the scenes, and it's validating the email address, the domain. Sometimes it also gives the information about, hey, is it a personal business email, right? So you can get to granular information with this tool, and again, if it is valid, straight away we're going to flag that as invalid, and we suppress the email from emails. That way, you don't have to do. We have an algorithm through which we as valid, and anything that is being flagged as invalid is automatically suppressed. So you can flagging this as invalid. Now, the reason is the mailbox not found because I flagged it as inbox that I know that it's not present, right? And it also shows what date it was verified. You don't have to do it like one record at a time. You can actually do it in bulk. We have like at the campaign level, and also there's something called Mail Wizard. You can actually do it in bulk. Okay. So any questions here about email verification?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay, sure. It's a straightforward thing to understand. And so the other thing, I think we were talking about the compliance, yeah? So I think maybe this is a time for you to kind of how you can actually send out emails. So let's say you're sending out email. You want to make sure that you got the like signature in your email, right? We support so you don't have to really do anything other than just making sure that you have the right merge fields in your template. And I'm picking this particular view. This is a target list. Again, this can have any number of emails in the view that you define. Here you can actually click on this button to verify emails in bulk. So I would just go to the next step, and then I'm going to pick one of the predefined templates that I already created in a folder called, and the template the signature line. And I have some merge fields given here, information, and I would just go say next, and I would you see that I'm talking too much about the tool, but I'm trying to focus on the deliverability aspects and how the tool can actually let you do that. So this is the email that I was sending, and got this new one, and so we embedded the signature lines, the address and the phone number and all that. I just highlighted only these three. And you can see that we also added the unsubscribe link at the bottom of the email. And you can actually click here and it gets unsubscribed automatically in the system. I can actually click on this. That's okay. Let me just go click here. And it's gonna, again, unsubscribe me from the list, and it gives a message, and then this gets Salesforce. It takes some time to really flag this particular contact as unsubscribed, and I'll show you to where we do that. Again, back to contact that we were. The valid contact. We leverage the standard email opt-out field so that the email gets subscribed. It also email opt-out automatically done. And whenever email opt-out has been checked, we auto-suppress this particular email, so you cannot send emails again back to the same contact. Yeah, and I know you asked me a question, how do I read the group, right? If you have groups, and I'll show you where to define the groups, and that kind of gives you clarity on so the under MassMailer setup, there's something called unsubscribe groups, and that's where you actually define what kind of groups that you have. It could be newsletter, products, and so on and so forth, and some of them are visible, meaning those are active. So whenever you're actually using any of these groups to send emails, then the email would have a different link. It will not have the same link. Say the email wizard, and then I want to send out emails to say a lead, and I want to pick the and this is one of the leads that I'm going to send out email to. And the next, and I can have a specific template that I already predefined that I pick, or you can also the design your template right in the advanced editor or just basic editor. So we pick an email template. And we go to the next step. this is more like HTML template that I picked. And here, when you're actually sending it to a group, hey, this is and I want to flag this as a new. And anyone who unsubscribed from newsletter, they will not receive it. By default, subscribe to all the groups, but when somebody unsubscribes, we flag them that they are unsubscribed, and we create a suppression list for them for that specific group. And again, once the email shortly, you would add that the feed may have a different link at the bottom of the email, and that will have email preferences, right? Sometimes it may take time to really deliver the email. While we are waiting for that, I can actually maybe show you something else, and we can come back to this. No, maybe it's spam. This one is not caught in the hand. Okay, luckily it's not. Okay. Actually, glad that I did this. So I can actually show you in behind the scenes. Remember, I actually unsubscribed myself to the whole. So that flagged that email address as subscribed. So the system is automatically sending the email just because and that's the reason why I did. So even though actually sending out email to a contact, but so the uniqueness is actually the email address. It's not the it's not the contact or the record. So I'll show it to you. I think this is going to be very clear for you when I show it to you why it did not deliver. This is actually very important for you to understand. So that, I mean, you can clear the tool thing does not send out emails when the email has been suppressed, right? And that gets right here, global unsubscribe, because I actually clicked on it and it captured it right here. That's the reason why second time when I tried to send an email, it did not deliver, right? And it's been flagged in Salesforce, so you don't really have to come here. This is just to show you that technology is already doing it for you, so that you don't have to do anything in Salesforce. I'm just going to go remove this. So when I remove this, then it means that now I'm subscribed back. But again, it's the same thing in the lead. If you want to send out email to the same contact again. So the theory behind how the emails can be sent out and how you can actually let the users opt out from a specific group or from the entire email, right? Any questions there on this so far?
Yeah, so just to be clear, so the user can self-service, subscribe, unsubscribe, and get vision. But if the user called into like a call center, would they be able to call in and you could grant permissions for them to have the same view of that user to subscribe and unsubscribe?
So it's not at the user level. I mean, I showed you the groups that you define, yeah? So if somebody is unsubscribed from that group, then that's put into the suppression list. Again, I'll show it to you once again. And good with let's say somebody actually unsubscribed from a group that actually gets here, and that gets suppressed already. And again, this is a backend platform that we use, SendGrid platform that we use. You don't have to log into SendGrid. This is more for your information, how this has been tackled. So it gets stored right here, group unsubscribe. I can actually send it once again if you want me to. Kind of email wizard. Let me just go through.
Don't want to walk through the demo again. Thanks, Siva, but that was just a conceptual question, whether you could or you couldn't.
Yeah.
So Siva, the administration of those user groups, if somebody unsubscribes and you need to rectify it, can you do you need a system administrator, or could you get somebody from a support desk to manage that?
To resubscribe them to the emails, is that what you mean?
Yeah, going through that process that you just went through, would that normally be a system administrator or somebody from help desk?
The user can do it. Let's say, so we will have a provision to kind of resubscribe. There'll be a button called resubscribe. You click on that, and then you can let the recipient resubscribe to the group once again. So it's just a click of a button. Anybody can do it. Like if you're a MassMailer user, right? And you know that somebody unsubscribed to your specific group because it gets stored at that record level. I think I forgot to show it to you. Like when you contact MassMailer email status record, so you look at this status record, right? And each record would store what kind of an event it is, like open, click, unsubscribe, so on and so forth, right? Subscribe because I unsubscribe. If it was a group then it would the event group unsubscribe, right? So you can actually this. I mean, in this demo instance, I have to wait to show that, unfortunately. But assume that you would go here and you would just say, hey, to resubscribe a particular person. So there would be an action button right here, which would say resubscribe, and automatically we delete it from that group, and you would be able to send emails again to that person. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. And, so before we kind of wrap up, for you to understand the authentication of the emails, how it is done behind the scenes. So I'm gonna again get here because a little bit more involved technically. We provision an account with MassMailer, and we provision an IP address, provided you get a dedicated IP address. That's been assigned to you, and it's been assigned to your user, and it's been assigned to a specific domain that you're sending out emails. So that way we properly authenticate and we create this RDNS. It takes, a quick 10 minutes for you to set it up. We help you how to set up these DNS values on your hosting provider. That way you're authenticating your domain, and also that has been associated to your specific IP address. And that's kind of done. And the domain authentication and the link branding is also properly propagated. In this instance, it's not showing it just because we are using two domains to send emails, massmailer.io and CO, and it is done at a different level. But you can safely assume that this particular user is sending out emails from two different domains, and that provision has been made already, and every domain has got its own dedicated IP address. That's the kind of theory behind it. Okay. Any questions on this?
No.
All right. So I think we kind of went through various email, the deliverability. We looked at again going back. We looked at the reputation. Making sure that your IP and the domain is authenticated. We looked at certain compliance rules and also the deliverability score. And if at all there's any problem with the content or infrastructure, whatnot, you should be able to find out all that information right there within the tool itself, right? So, I mean, have on a trial if you're interested. You can actually just contact me. This is my email address, siva.devaki@massmailer.io, or you can send it to hello@massmailer, or just go to the website and click on the contact button, massmailer.io, and we'll be happy to assist you further with a trial if you're interested in MassMailer.
Excellent, mate. Thank you very much. Who's your typical customer? So what size of organisations and what product fit does MassMailer fit with best? So do you work best with the Pardot, or what product mix and size of organisation are you a best fit for?
So we have customers who are also using product, and they use MassMailer for a different purpose. So product, the clear-cut definition or differentiation between product and MassMailer is product is more like an end-to-end marketing automation tool, but MassMailer is an outbound communication tool. Right now, we just focus only on the email, but we have a way to send out emails, like not just the emails, SMS as well, and the voice as well, right? That tool is in the beta. It's coming very soon. So MassMailer is meant to do outbound communication right within Salesforce. It's not just, it's not a email automation tool or a marketing automation tool. I mean, the moment you talk about marketing automation, it is landing pages, you're tracking the website, whatnot. We are not that. We are outbound communication tool natively within Salesforce for the email, SMS, and the voice. And the typical customer that we have, we got customers like one user, and I got customers 1,000 users, right? And we got universities using it for student communication. I got financial services firms, big ones that are using, real estate firms that are using it. And I got healthcare companies or maybe staffing companies. And we also have some health clubs that are using it, 100 users, right? Bay Club is an example. And University of Colorado is an example. So they all use it for outbound communication. For an example, student advisors want to send out emails to students, and they want a simple way to send emails. They don't want any complex tool as such, and everything should be native. And that's what Colorado University uses for. And we got Florida University, and we are talking to a few other universities that are also trying out MassMailer as part of their outbound communication tool.
Excellent, mate. Do you also use the campaign object for all of your outbound communications?
Oh, yeah. So again, I on that, but the in itself, there's a button that says send via MassMailer that actually lets you draft out the same thing what you did right within that I was showing it to you. But since I'll just show you the button so that you kind of get a sense of how that can be sent. You can also let you send out emails to right? You can actually send out emails to any object. It's not just a standard object, you can send it to any object. So there's a button called Schedule via MassMailer, which lets you send emails to campaign members. Okay.
Cool. Thank you, mate. Anybody else have any questions?
Do you have a trial version of your product?
He said that he did.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. If you just go to massmailer.io, we have a right there. You can just, I'll receive an email and I'll respond back quickly and have set up MassMailer. It just takes a minute to MassMailer. Okay. So you
Excellent, mate. Thank you very much for your presentation. We don't have any more questions over here. Is there anything else that you want to raise before you go and get some breakfast?
All right. Okay. Thank you so much once again for the opportunity, and I'm hoping to really help your team there. And whoever wants to send out emails or SMS, please send note to me. Just request on our website, and we'll help you.
Cool. Thanks very much, mate. Yeah. Have a great day.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.